All right, good evening. Friday evening, 8 o'clock. It's good to have you here. Just enjoying this evening. I hope you had a good supper. And we have an amazing show here tonight for this cooking show. And I, first of all, have a special guest that is joining us tonight. And here he is.
I don't know if I would say special guest.
Wait a second. How did you jump on here?
Okay, I heard the word dessert. Okay, and you had me at dessert, so I'm tagging along tonight, folks, because I think we might have something sweet in store for us, and that's right down my alley.
That's right. We have Pastor Tim joining us because he is all about the sweets. And let's go ahead and get to the person that is truly the star of the night. We want to invite Chef Julie. And again, welcome, Chef Julie.
Hi. How are you all?
It's great to have you here. I think the people want to see more of you than Pastor Tim and myself, so I'm going to do that. And it is great to have you here. For those of you who are joining on, just say hello so we can make this a community time. And yeah, so first of all, just want to say thank you for making the time to do this for us and just showing us how to cook. And one of the things, before we get started on tonight's special treat, I want to ask you just a question. What is one of the most stressful times you've had cooking?
So, right
after when you were really nervous or something.
Right. So right after I graduated from culinary school and finished my internship, I moved from San Francisco back to San Luis Obispo, where my boyfriend, now husband, Scott, was finishing up school at Cal Poly, and I got a job in Morro Bay at a restaurant called Windows on the Water. It's still there. I actually just went a few weeks ago with my family. Really fun and very nostalgic. So anyways, one time when we were there, when I was working, Rachel Ray came and filmed an episode of her show called $40 a Day. It was before she was on like the morning show thing, and it was just on the Food Network, and it was called $40 a Day, and it was going to like little vacation towns and how you could spend $40 in a day and eat well, you know. And so she came to Windows on the Water, and I was like 25 years old, and I loved it. Like, I was brand new chef. Like, I really had been working for less than a year, and so I was always nervous when I went to work, but this particular day I was way more nervous, and she could see me, like she was filming a spot like in the restaurant, and I'm just like standing there at her, and she totally saw me, and she finishes her segment, then she goes, "Hey, you, Smiley, come over here."
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
She just wanted to give me a hug. She could tell I was like totally in love with her, and I was one of the only girls in that kitchen, so it was like nice to sort of. I always tried to find women when I was in culinary school and doing internships, or just, it's called staging. It's where you work a few days for free just to get experience in like really fancy restaurants. And I would always choose restaurants that had female chefs, because I figured as a female chef, it would be important to learn how to lead as a woman in a male-driven industry. So it was just exciting, and I was flustered for the rest of the day. I was flustered because she called me out. I was red all day, just blushing and smiling from ear to ear. And it was, so the cook wasn't stressful, but the experience was a little bit stressful, and it just made me a little, shaky for service. But
awesome.
That was fun.
Awesome. Excellent. What is one of the most exciting times you've had? That sounds pretty exciting.
Honestly, that could be the same thing. Like stressful and exciting kind of like walk that fine line. So that was pretty exciting. let's see. I mean, one time when I used to work, when I moved down here, I got a job in Newport Beach at a private dining club. And we had a world-class sommelier who the members of the club joined just so they could be a part of his wine dinners, and he would take them on wine trips. So one night we had a dinner for 12. It was a 7-course meal, and it was like the fanciest meal I had ever been a part of cooking, because I worked in banquets. So most of my food was like for weddings or baby showers, which was fun. And like, I really enjoyed that work, but this was like passion cooking, and it was really, really cool. I was pretty low down on the totem pole, so I was really just kind of stirring and chopping and observing, but I got to help plate, and it was so fun.
That sounds awesome. That sounds awesome. So, Julie, what are we going to see you help us cook tonight?
Yeah, so tonight I'm making probably my favorite thing to cook, which is my Grandma Muscarella's cream puffs. These are at every single family gathering that we ever have with my big Muscarella family. It's actually 3 recipes, because the completed puff is a profiterole, which is made from choux, which is a French pastry paste, and then it's filled with a vanilla pastry or pudding, and so that's the second recipe. It also has the frosting that goes on top. So I'm going to make the puffs with you tonight, and I'm going to make the frosting tonight. I'm not going to make the pudding because I had to make it so that it cooled and set and got nice and thick to put inside the puffs.
Okay, sounds awesome. So where do we start?
And it's on page 111 of the Aldersgate Cooking with Friends cookbook. I submitted that one last year when I did a thing, and I also wanted to show you, this is really cute. At my dad's wedding, my mom and dad's wedding. That's my grandma Rosina. She said I in 1993. Didn't really get a chance to know her. I was only 2 when she passed. But my Aunt Nancy has always sort of taken the reins in the cooking department and kept all her mom's recipes going, and made sure that all the family knew that us little ones who didn't really know Grandma know that Grandma could cook.
Awesome. All right, Julie, take us away.
All right. So the thing I'm gonna make is the pas de choux, and this is a French paste that you cook on the stove, and then you pipe onto a baking sheet and bake in the oven. So it's really simple. The procedure is specific, but the ingredients and the overall recipe itself is not very difficult, but it can be intimidating. So what you need is 1 cup of all-purpose flour, 1 cup of water, 1 stick of butter. This is oh goodness. I'm so sorry. I think my camera might have come off. So sorry. So this is a really easy one to remember, because 1 cup, 1 stick, and then you need 4 eggs. So I over here have Are you getting the feed on my
I will soon. Yes, there we go.
I'm sorry.
And there we go.
Sorry. All right, here we go.
Okay.
So I already have 1 cup of water in here getting hot. And I'm going to add a stick of butter to that and let that melt and come up to temperature. It'll start to boil. So this is just like I said, you can put this on high heat because you just want this to heat up as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Best to use a wooden spoon for this. Some people use a whisk. I don't like using a whisk because I think that it incorporates too much air into the dough, which can result in a unpredictable puff.
Hmm. So if you really like butter, would it be bad to put extra butter in there?
Bad. Believe me, I probably love butter more than anybody you know, and I have absolutely tried to add more butter and it ruins it. So don't do that. All right, so see, we're getting some little bubbles here. So now I'm just going to turn the heat way down. Or if you have an electric stove that like keeps all that, retains all that heat, turn it off.
You're doing great. We got a comment by Kristen that says, I could do this.
Awesome. Yeah, this is not a hard thing to do. It's just multi-step. And so because of that, it's also, it can be particular. You just have to follow the directions. So now that you see that hot water and butter has combined with the flour, and what you want to do is you kind of want to stir this and let some of the steam from the water evaporate, and it just cooks the flour a bit more so that you don't get that raw flour taste.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm going to take my eggs and one by one I'm going to add them. They need to be added one at a time, and you will see why after we start mixing. The first one always goes in really easily. The ones following will take a little bit more stirring power. You can also do this in an electric mixer, but I tend to like to use my arm, and the reason is because it's hard. So you don't overmix quite as much because you're tired, whereas the electric mixer just will mix and mix and mix forever. There, I dropped in 2 eggs, but that's okay. But so this is where pan. See how it looks all weird and globby and like it's not mixing in together at all? Just have to keep mixing, and after a while, we'll see the consistency begin to change to a nice adhesive paste. Oh, we got one more egg in there.
Well, this is a workout.
It is a workout. So not only are you knowing that you're not following by you, you're also burning calories. You will fill up by eating green puffs. So see, that last egg is always the hardest one to get mixed in. But don't despair. You just keep going. Then you'll get this beautiful yellow paste that is about, I would say it's the consistency of peanut butter.
Peanut butter, did you say?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like, I think that that's a pretty good description. It's about as thick as peanut butter. It's not exactly the same, but all right, so we got all those eggs worked in. So now I'm done on the stove, and I'm going to come back to my work board. And just give it a quick mix again. And then you're going to need a pastry bag. If you don't have pastry bags, or you don't know where to buy them, or you don't want to waste money on these things, you can use a block bag and just put it all to the corner of the bag. use spoons, just like you would like making cookies or any kind of rock dough.
Mm-hmm.
You can use 2 spoons and just take a tablespoon and drop it. But I do find that this is helpful for uniformity. It makes all your puffs look exactly the same, which is what every chef wants.
Mm.
So now I am going to take this dough and I am going to put the pastry bag. I have puffed here so that I can put hands underneath it so I don't get the paste in the bag, so that when I go to seal it, you can just uncup it,
Mm-hmm.
pinch it, twist it, and then you'll need to cut the tip off. And you will then have your dough ready to go. Just get a prepared baking sheet. This is just a baking sheet with parchment, and I don't grease this or anything. The parchment is plenty. And one little trick that I've learned, you take just a tiny bit of the paste and put it onto the baking sheet. It works as glue, and it holds your parchment paper down so that you don't get...
Ooh, that's experience right there.
Okay, so now you just go ahead and you straight up and down, and then you just give it a little twist at the end that cuts off the dough from the bag, and you make them all about the same size. And you know, I'm making smaller ones. These are kind of like a hors d'oeuvre size 2-bite stuff. You can make them any size. My grandma's, I believe, tended to be much larger than this. They were probably more like a 4-bite dessert, which was never enough. You always went back.
You still went back for more.
Always.
So, you know, I'm kind of a cream puff connoisseur.
Let's hear it.
I don't know if you all knew this. You know, when we created our Friday night show, my son Daniel and I, you know, we ended up naming it Blizzards and Bible, right? But we actually almost named it Cream Puffs in Christ. And so that was kind of our close second. But Pastor Ken, do you know when National Cream Puff Day is?
Well, everybody knows what National Cream Puff Day is, but go ahead and just tell them.
Okay, January 2nd is National Cream Puff Day.
Wow.
January 2nd. Okay.
Wow.
Just wanted to throw that in there. Okay.
That's one day before my birthday.
What was it? January 2nd?
January 2nd is National Cream Puff Day. Yes.
All right. Well, then it's a date. See you on January 2nd.
Wow,
Okay,
what a title. We should have called this Cream Puffs in Christ.
It might have been awesome. It's all right. Okay, so now they're all piped. This drives me crazy, but whatever. I didn't have enough.
Oh, wow.
One batch makes about 2 dozen cream puffs. There's more in the pot, but I'm not going to do those for you now. They go into an oven that you have preheated at 425. Oh, I think it's 425. It might even be 450. Sorry, let me double check this. It is. Preheat your oven to 450 degrees. If you have a convection oven, turn the convection off. You do not want the fan going at this time. 450 for 10 minutes. And while they're cooking, this is important, don't open the oven because the steam inside the oven is helping to make these puffs rise and puff. So you want to keep the oven door closed. 10 minutes on 450. Then you turn your oven down to 325 with convection if you have convection. If you don't, no big deal. You just add 5 minutes to the cooking time. So you're going to do 325 for 15 minutes on convection or 25 as a regular oven for 20 minutes. And you, at this second cook, opening the oven isn't as, like, it won't ruin your cream puffs as much. And so about 5 minutes before they're done, I do open the oven and turn them so they get browning because I hate them.
Okay, wait,
Cream
Julie.
puffs are...
I could tell that Pastor Tim totally lost you there. So, so you heat it 350 without the convection, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And
So
then,
I'm sorry if I made that overly complicated. I've had this problem baking things in my oven with the convection on. The time, like in a recipe, the time won't correlate if you use your oven with the convection fan on, which convection just means there's a fan in your oven circulating the hot air. So it makes for a more, the oven heats up faster, the food heats up faster because of the hot air, and it also dries things out, which is exactly what you want for these puffs, which is why you turn the convection on for the second bake.
for the second bake, okay.
Correct. All right, and so then when they're done,
okay,
come out like this.
wow.
So
Nice.
I like to toot my own horn. I was gonna say I don't like to toot my own horn, but I do. These are beautiful cream puffs. They're all exactly the same size. They poofed. They didn't fall. One problem that happens often: cream puffs will fall. This comes from opening your oven too early. It comes from over mixing your batter, or not mixing your batter enough. There is a very fine line where once all those eggs have been incorporated, you want to stop. You don't want to keep beating it, or you just build up gluten and then you get a rock hard little lame puff. And the reason why these puffs are so great is that when you break them open, they're hollow inside. So they're perfect for filling with delicious things. And some people's profiterole dough or pot de choux, they use milk. I don't use milk. I use water, as you saw before, because I feel like the milk weighs them down and you get a much poofier product with water. The milk tends to make the puff itself sweeter, which you would think is a good thing. But with the vanilla pudding and the chocolate frosting, which is intensely sweet, these don't need to be sweet at all. Plus, it means that you can also use this recipe to make savory cream puff. You can put chicken salad in this, egg salad, tuna salad. You can put ham salad. Like you can put these are perfect for little tea parties where you just set these out.
Egg salad.
Yes, they're really versatile. So we're filling ours with pudding today. You can fill them with any flavor: vanilla, butterscotch pudding, banana pudding. You can also fill them with whipped cream. You could fill them with ice cream. In England, they make profiterole sundaes, which is these puffs that are filled with ice cream and then put in a parfait glass and covered in hot fudge, whipped cream, cherry. So good. But so now that we have our little puffs, I am going to grab my pudding. And part of the reason why I didn't make this on camera is because I cheated. It's Jell-O pudding mix. I know that sounds like you're cheating. It's a little semi-homemade because I do add to it, but Jell-O mix is flawless. It's perfect. It's literally what my grandma used 50 years ago. So what I do, follow the recipe on the package, except I reduce the milk by 1/2 cup. It's normally 3 cups of milk. I put 2.5 cups. And then I prepare everything as usual. And then I turn off, add 1 egg yolk, 1 tablespoon of butter, and a splash of extra vanilla. And it just gives it a little bit more body and richness and makes it taste homemade. And nobody will have to know that there's really Jell-O.
Awesome.
And then I pour it into a shallow dish, which I then cover while it is warm. I cover with plastic wrap. This helps it from not forming like a skin on top, which makes your pudding gloppy, and it's really kind of like inedible. It gets hard and weird. So this is very good. And it also helps it thicken up. I really do believe that it really helps it thicken up. So this is our pudding. And so to fill, you just...
We've got a question here.
Sure.
Yes. Can you add strawberries?
Oh yeah, you can add anything. You could definitely add vanilla. Okay, let's think of some combinations. You could add vanilla pudding, put a slice of banana in there, whipped cream on top, caramel, whatever. Anything. You can make cookies and cream ones. You can make strawberry shortcake ones. You can make key lime ones. You can make lemon meringue ones. You could really, this pastry dough is so versatile. It goes with everything. All it really tastes like is butter. It's delicious, just like poofy butter and egg. It's so good.
Wow.
But my grandma's traditional way was vanilla pudding. One of my cousins hated vanilla pudding, and so my Aunt Nancy, who was this cousin's mom, would make her chocolate pudding just for her. So super easy. Some people might use a pastry bag and a piping tip and just poke a hole in the bottom and fill them that way. I guess I can see why you don't have to cut the hole so the filling might not blob out, but these are nice small puffs. So I really think that cutting them is really not a big deal. Sometimes, there have been times in the past where I'm like, no, I don't want to cut them. They'll fall apart and they'll look ugly. This will be better. This will be more professional. And it wasn't. It wasn't any better. It was actually a lot harder and like way more frustrating. So I'm just cutting these little guys open, taking about a tablespoon of this beautifully thick pastry cream. Thicker the better, because like when you take it out for dinner, when they sit out, the pastry cream will come up to room temperature and it'll get a little bit thinner. But it's just
yes.
So
we got a question for me, Pastor Ken. Are you drooling?
Are you?
Yes, I am. It looks so good. I'm still shocked that those things come out with a hollow middle.
That's
pretty amazing.
The magic. I mean, it's because of the egg. There's no leavening ingredient in this. If you notice, there's no baking powder, there's no baking soda. The eggs are what gives these pastries their poof, and it's when they steam in the oven. The steam from the water in the dough and from the water in the butter and even the liquids in the eggs just steam in there and just force this thing to rise up. You can actually even,
yeah,
that's kind of springs up. They're my favorite. They always turn out. They're always great. So now I am going to make my chocolate frosting, although I do see that my camera in the back has gone off. So what I'm going to do is I already have some chocolate frosting earlier today, and I will just talk to you about how it was made. What it is, very, very easy. Take a pot, or you can also do this in the microwave. I put in 2 tablespoons of butter, half a cup of chocolate chips, and then you ahead and put this on the stove very low because chocolate does burn and gets disgusting when it burns. So you just want to turn that on really low. Check it often, stir it often until the chocolate is all melted. And then you're going to go ahead and add 2 cups of powdered sugar. Don't dump it all in at once. Add it in maybe divide it into 3 parts and add it in 3 increments time. It will get very thick. And that is when you want to add a little bit of milk. Tablespoon at a time. You do not want to add too much milk. Get chocolate milk, sweet, thick chocolate milk, but it will not be frosting. It won't. So then you end up with a product is kind of, it's what you want to know what it reminds me of? It totally reminds me of the glaze on a chocolate donut. It's, it's chocolatey, but it's also kind of grainy because of the powdered sugar. And it's just it's so intensely sweet, which is why it just goes like a little dollop on top. But we are gonna get these chips and the butter melted. This is a very important tip that I must give you. Do not add the cold milk to the chocolate chips before you add the powdered sugar. Powdered sugar must go in first, and it must be mixed in slightly. If you add cold milk to your chocolate will seize. It will turn into a weird shaped hard rock on your pot, and you'll never get to melt again. It won't melt. It won't melt smooth. It won't melt shiny. It's terrible.
Okay.
So, sorry, I was just reading that comment off the bottom. So we're getting your chocolate chips melted with the butter. Like I said, it does not take long, and really just the residual heat of the pot will work. But we're getting to a nice melty consistency here. And so now I am going to melt to the hot pan. Ooh. Chocolate chips, and now I'm going to add my powder, which I can do over here.
Jen, have you ever had your chocolate seize up on you?
Yes, in fact, I absolutely almost just did.
No, I want to know if Ken has ever had his chocolate seize up on him.
Oh, it happens.
It happened to me one time in 1978, but I kind of learned that you gotta. Anyway. Let's move on.
One time. All
right.
That's looking awesome. So you add the powdered sugar first and then the cold milk.
Correct. Powdered sugar first and then a little bit of milk.
Can you heat the milk first?
You absolutely can. In fact, oftentimes what I will put a little bit of milk. See, here we go. I was about to panic, but it's coming together. Here we go. So this is that gorgeous consistency we're looking for. We're gonna add the rest of this powdered sugar, probably a little bit more milk too. Probably in total we're adding about a 1/4 cup of milk, but that's definitely that can change based on the weather, how hot it is, how cold it is outside. So I didn't want to really give you a measurement for the milk because it can always be different. But
somebody working at 5:30 in the morning is heading out now, but wants to thank you for doing an awesome job.
Oh, I'm so glad they had fun, and I'm sorry I couldn't finish in time for them, but we are almost. Look at this. So here we go. I'm gonna hold it up for you. That's nice. The consistency you want. Pourable and thick, but still, So then, let me get a clean spoon. Actually, 1 moment.
All right, Pastor Ken. You know what the world's largest cream puff was?
Did you do a little research before tonight?
I love your
cream puff historian.
You are cracking me up.
Do you know what the world's largest cream puff was? How much? What do you think?
Largest cream puff.
How much do you think it weighed?
100 pounds.
125 pounds.
Oh,
wow.
Wisconsin State Fair. 2011.
How big was it?
I only know its weight, okay?
You mean you weren't there? I thought you went to all of these things, no?
Wisconsin State Fair, 2011. 125-pound cream puff.
Wow.
These are a little smaller.
These are nice little, like I said, little individual sized ones. They're perfect for like setting out for a cocktail party or something because they're not going to I I guess if you put the whole thing in your mouth, that would be a little bit gross, but it's absolutely possible to pop a whole one of these in your mouth, no problem. So as you can see, I added a little bit more milk because my frosting was getting a little thick. You want to do this while it's warm because as it cools, it seizes up. And if you do have any extra of this frosting, put it in a Tupperware, put it in your fridge, and it's basically hot fudge. So the next time you have ice cream at home, take out your leftover frosting and put it on your ice cream. So there we go.
Wow.
I'm only 6 today because I make more than I will more than that. So today it's just gonna be 6 little puffs.
Wow. That is awesome.
You can put sprinkles on it for whatever holiday is coming up, or you can also put I had a fancy party one time and I put gold leaf on top. It looked really pretty. It was very fancy. But yeah, you can top it with anything you want. And like I said, you can make this a bunch of different ways. There's so many combos. There's like no end to how many different fillings and different combinations that you could put inside these cream puffs.
Julie, can you like just send Pastor Tim and I a couple cream puffs real quick?
I will get right on it.
There you go. Thank you, Julie.
You're welcome.
Oh yeah.
Yay. Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, I have been waiting all afternoon for this moment.
So have I. I vowed not to eat one before right now. So
wow.
Okay. So yummy.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yep. So that's cream puffs. Like I said, not too hard. They do kind of, I mean, I would call it about an hour and a half's worth of work. I mean, you have to make the pastry, and then you have to first you should make the pudding because that has to cool in the fridge before you make the pastry. And you can make the pudding the day before. And then when you make the puffs, you have your pastry cream ready, and then you go ahead and make your frosting right as you're ready to top them. And honestly, my aunt would be making the frosting, putting it on, and then serving them with the kind of like soft, warm frosting on top. I love them.
Julie.
Delicious.
I know you said you can't put the whole thing in your mouth.
That's
but
good.
You can, huh?
And when you do, wow.
Yeah.
It just all works together.
It does. You just like moment because you can't talk. You really have to concentrate on not choking. And it gives you this moment of like, wow. The consistency, the chewiness of the dough, the softness of the smooth silkiness of the pudding, the kind of like super intensely sweet, kind of like grainy frosting. I don't know. I just think they're perfect.
Oh man, my mouth is like so happy right now. It's like amazing.
They're great with coffee.
Wow.
They're great with coffee.
Wow. Thank you.
Sure.
So we're about our time. Do you want to show us one knife skill before you go?
Sure. Yeah. So last time that I did this, I had some requests for me to do some knife skills. So here are what you learn on in culinary school: potato, carrots, and bacon. These are the things that you learn on. So when you are cooking, when you're about to cut, you want to use, and look at my sad, broken knife. This is the knife I'm using today because it's my sharpest one. The key to getting proper cuts and to be safe is to have a very sharp knife. You can get them sharpened at knife stores or kitchen tools stores. But you can also maintain their sharpness, or you can buy a stone and sharpen your own knives. But really having a sharp knife is the most important part. And so before you begin, what you want to do is make sure that your round, unpredictable piece of vegetable isn't going to roll around. So you take a little bit off. This is going to be really garbage. And it's not garbage. Sorry. This can go in stock or make mashed potatoes with it. But this is really just to sort of start you off so that you have a solid foundation, that it's not going to roll away from you, because it's all about safety. You do not want to cut your fingers, because there's like I said, you want a sharp knife, but you also need to take that into consideration and be extremely safe when you are using a very sharp knife. So the first thing you want to do is, the way you always hold the thing that you are about to cut is with the tips of your fingers and a rolled finger, so that you don't have your fingers just waiting to be chopped off with a nice little like flat finger. You want to keep those fingers. You want to have a grip, like you want to use your pinky and your thumb to have a good grip on what you're holding, on what you're cutting. But you definitely want to roll those like fingertips and roll those fingers, so that when your knife is going to go down, it hits your knuckles and this flat side of your fingers. So the first cut we're going to do is, first we're going to make planks. And to do this, you cut about a 1/2 inch plank of potato or carrot or zucchini or celery or whatever you're cutting. So then for safety, I'm going to have one, because when you have sliced planks, they tend to slide because they've been cut and the potato is wet. So I'm going to do one plank at a time. And then I'm going to cut the exact same width as I just cut the plank, so that you get these perfect batons. This is called a baton, and it's basically a French fry. This is about a 1/2 inch by a 1/2 inch strip, I guess is what you want to call it. So that's called a baton, and that's used to make French fries. Then if you take these and you line them up and you cut across the same width again, width again, which is a 1/2 inch. This is called a small dice. And that a small dice is a 1/2 inch cube. You get perfect, beautiful, uniform cubes. Some people might think that this isn't important, but the more uniform your cuts are, the more evenly your food cooks. If you have one piece that's really tiny and thin and another piece that's really fat, they're not going to cook at the same rate, and you're going to get way mushy or way undercooked stuff, and that's just no fun. Nobody wants that. So that's a small dice. There is also something called a julienne, which is basically a baton, but a little smaller. It's more like a 1/4 inch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my plank and I'm going to cut it into 1/4 inch slices. And then I'm going to take each one of those slices, cut it on the broader side, and then you get a shoestring potato. That is called a julienne. And these you can fry, and you get like a shoestring potato or like a long skinny potato chip. There's not a whole lot. When you fry these, there's not a whole lot of moisture or like soft potato inside. They pretty much get fried all the way. They're really good. So then when you take a bunch of julienne potato or product, whatever you have, and then you cut it again, a 1/4 inch slices. This is called brunoise. And that beautiful. I use this often, this size cut, for things like risotto, or you could use this for like hash. This actually might be too small. I would never actually cut a potato this size. I would totally do carrots this size, but potato just is so starchy that once it cooks, it just mashes down. So these won't keep their beautiful little shape.
Yeah.
But so that's a brunoise.
Okay.
And then the last one I'm going to do is called a chiffonade, which most people know. This is for cutting any flat leaf herb, which is why I have basil here. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your basil leaves and stack them one on top of the other. I have 4 leaves here. You don't want to use too many because the more you use, you can't roll it as tight. So what you're going to do is you're going to roll this up like a cigar.
Interesting.
Get this long, skinny, and then you're going to take your knife and you're going to cut this as thin as possible. Chiffonade means ribbons, and you want this to be thin. You don't want it to tear, which means one tip that I must give you is that when you are cooking, you don't want to use your knife like that. Chopping is good for nuts or maybe for like cutting up carne asada, but when you are doing precision cutting, you want to slide and use as little pressure as possible. If your knife is sharp enough, sliding the knife forward should propel the knife down because of gravity, because of the weight of the knife itself. So I'm going to do a chiffonade right now, which is very important. This is where you're taking your fingertips, rolling your fingers, because this can get pretty fast. So what you're going to do is very slowly move the hand that is holding the herbs backwards while holding the rolled up herbs together and just cutting. So then you get these gorgeous little hairs of basil. You can add that to
Amazing. Wow.
You could use this as garnish. You can do this with mint. You can do this. You can kind of do it with parsley. It's a little harder with parsley because the leaves are so small. But yeah, you can do that with mint. You can do that with basil, sage, any broad-leafed herb works. But yeah, so I mean, that's just a really basic.
Thank you.
Cut. These I forgot to mention that these little cuts right here, the small dice, that's what I use when I make soup. So what I'll do is I'll boil a chicken with a whole onion, like cut in half, a carrot cut in half, and a piece of celery cut in half. I'll make the stock, and then I'll take the chicken out, take those big pieces of onion, celery, and carrots out, and then when it's time to actually assemble the soup, I cut carrots, celery, and onion, zucchini, potato, whatever vegetable you're going to add back into the soup. That's when I add the small dice, and and then you can cook it for 45 minutes, and they'll maybe last 30 minutes, and they'll be cooked, and the soup will be really infused with flavor because you've added the vegetables to the stock that you just made, and then you're adding more vegetables to that already flavored stock, and it's just chicken soup is one of my favorites. So yeah, that's a great.
Amazing.
That's the size that I always do for that. It's the perfect size. It fits in your spoon well. You get a little bit of everything. It's cooked properly. Everything's cooked at the same doneness, and yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, thank you so much, Julie. Pastor Tim and I were walking the other day, and he was asking me. He's like, "Man, I'm having trouble cutting my basil," and I was just, and here you are,
There it is. I mean, tomato and basil and fresh mozzarella is one of my favorite. Caprese.
I love that.
One of my favorite things, and my girls too. And so basil it's good. Cutting it the way that I just did, sliding your knife back and forth, it stops the leaves from bruising. the sharper your knife, the more it slices rather than crushes those tiny little cells in these leaves. Because when you crush them, they turn black. They get all black. They look ugly after 5 minutes. Whereas if you slice through them and just really with care and with not a lot of brute force, you get a beautiful green, perfect chiffonade.
Awesome.
Nice. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Julie, very much. Again, the recipe, you're going to go ahead and maybe post it on the comments.
Absolutely, I can link it in the comments. Yeah.
Or they can just get the cookbook from the church, right? And page
Cooking with Friends. 111.
111. All right, just
It's
111.
the last recipe. It's called Grandma Muscarella's cream puffs.
All right. Well, you have a lot of people thanking you here, and Pastor Tim and I want to also thank you so much for making time for us.
Yeah,
I enjoy it very much, and the second time was a lot more fun. The first time I was a little nervous, and so this was perfect.
Well, this is great, and thank you for the cream puffs that we had, and
I'm glad
we
you
will continue enjoying. All right, well, have a great rest of the weekend, everyone. Thank you, Julie, again. We'll see you all later.
Bye.
Bye.